Have you ever found yourself really excited to have finished a quilt top, but then putting off the quilting? Maybe you're not sure what will look good and you don't want to ruin it. Or maybe you're just overwhelmed by all the options. If that's ever happened to you, welcome to the club. I think almost all of us get stuck or second guess ourselves sometimes. But the good news is that it doesn't have to be so hard. Hi, I'm Beth Ann, and today I'll walk you through what I call the three-step quilting decision guide. This is the same thought process that I use when I'm quilting my own quilts on my home sewing machine, and it's what Connor and I will be using to plan out how to quilt the top that I showed at the beginning of the video. Here's the simple way I think through it. First off, how will this item be used? Next, what will complement it visually? And finally, what works with my time and energy right now? Let's do a quick walkthrough of how each of these work in real life. Are you ready for some practical details? An important reminder, like so many things that I talk about in my videos, these are tools, not rules. If you already have a different quilting plan or strategy in mind, go for it. This decision guide is just here to help you if you get stuck. So, step one, how is this item going to be used? Are people you love going to sleep under it or cuddle up with it? Are you planning to take it to the park for a picnic? Is it going to be used as a placemat or table runner on your dining room table? These are all examples of quilts that are going to be loved, used, and probably washed regularly. And if folks like these kitties are going to be snuggling under the quilt, you want to make sure that it's nice and soft and cuddly. On the other hand, is this an art quilt, wall hanging, or show quilt? A purely decorative piece that will seldom or maybe never be washed? If that's the case, you might choose to quilt a little more elaborately and maybe more densely too. The quilting may even become a major design feature or be used to create contrasting textures within the quilt. Different goals can lead to very different choices. The breathtaking, detailed quilting that you often see at quilt shows can be absolutely stunning. But that's not the type of quilting most of us use for our everyday quilts. One last factor to consider in this section is scale. No, not that kind of scale. And not that kind either. Let me clarify. I often use the same kinds of designs on both decorative pieces and large bed quilts. The difference is in the size of the patterning or spaces between the stitching. Parallel walking foot quilting lines on a table runner like this might be very close together. Or they might be spaced much further apart on a nearly bed-size quilt like this. The same is true when I free motion quilt. If it's a small piece, the patterning is small scale and has more detail. While on a larger quilt like this, the scale of the patterning is also much larger, which gives a softer feel to the quilt, and it's faster to finish too. What would complement this quilt visually? Now that you know what the quilt is for, let's look at the quilt itself. If I have a quilt with strong graphic elements, like the one that Ronan is admiring here, I tend to keep the quilting simple and use a blending thread in an all-over pattern so that the quilt top remains the focus. If I do want to add visual interest, there are a few simple ways to do that. As we've seen already, channel quilting, or parallel lines in one direction, is always a solid option. It can also be very effective on the diagonal. You can use simple diagonal grids over piecing or applique, or in this case, both, straight line grids over curved piecing, or take the opposite approach and use curvy lines over quilts with lots of straight edges. I quilted this with a straight stitch and a walking foot. But sometimes I like to use a decorative serpentine stitch like this. And sometimes I'll just stitch the curves freehand like this. The same principle of adding curves or straight lines works with free motion quilting too, whether it's spirals like we saw earlier or simple loops like this. Just remember, it's not a rule. Next, if your quilt has a natural focal point, you could use the quilting lines to highlight that area. For this quilt, I'm sharing two different walking foot techniques, curves over straight seams and straight line quilting radiating outwards to highlight the focal point or the center of the quilt. And then there's one of the most important questions in this section. How busy are your fabrics? A beautiful print can completely camouflage fancy quilting, especially if it's richly saturated with color or has a lot of detail. Let me show you what I mean. You see this wall quilt? Can you tell that I put a lot of time into quilting detailed feather designs in that outer red border? If I photograph the quilt in really low light, you can kind of see the feathers, but they're really faint. In normal light, the feathers blend in completely, so that was a lot of wasted effort. On the other hand, if a quilt has lots of solid fabrics, subtle prints, or negative space, more detailed quilting will show up beautifully. And now we come to the part people may not really think about, but might be the most important. What works for you right now? Realistically, how much time and energy do you have? Is the baby shower you're making a quilt for 6 months from now? Or is it the end of the week? And yes, that's a true story. What techniques are you most comfortable with? Straight or gently curving lines with a walking foot? Or free motion quilting? This isn't a good, better, best situation. The best quilting plan is the one that you can actually follow through and finish. If you're short on time or energy, consider straight line quilting, either following the piecing or using a simple grid, gently curving lines, or simple all over designs. Any of these options can give you a beautiful result without feeling overwhelming. And if you do have time and the energy and want to try something more detailed or complex, go for it. But it still might help to keep scale in mind. Just let your quilting choice be a choice. Don't feel pressured to conform to what some other quilter has done or recommends. Okay, let's bring it all together. You don't need to overthink your quilting choices. There's never only one right answer. There are just choices that work better for you, for this quilt, at this moment, with your time, your tools, and your energy. If you'd like more practical tips, ideas, and demos, you can check out videos like these from my machine quilting playlist. I'll link them in the description. And if you'd like more help developing your quilting skills, along with tips, ideas, and encouragement along the way, you're always welcome to join my weekly email newsletter. I share additional resources there that I don't always include here on YouTube. Now, Ronan joins me in saying, Happy quilting, everyone.